I think every human being on the planet inherently at some point has the selfish desire to just make and do whatever they want for themselves.
Yeah.
And then if you can get paid to do that, like, that's awesome. I'm here to bring joy into people's lives, through making videos. And I like to do it with things that require getting your hands dirty. The makerspace is saturated with a lot of content like that. And to stand out, that's why I lean into things like just actually being myself and being entertaining and trying to do cool shit that challenges me, that I think is creative and I think gets people fired up. I made a decision a long time ago to be myself. And so I get a lot of my fans and audience that I meet in person that are just blown away by that I'm not like a character that's like different online than I am in person. I'm not afraid to fail like on camera. And I think that's one of the things that's always separated me as a maker on YouTube is that like, everyone says, I love that you show the mistakes.
Welcome back to the He's Wrong, She's Right podcast. I'm Andrew. This is Nona. And today we're joined with John Malecki of the John Malecki YouTube channel, Unscrewed YouTube channel, and former Pittsburgh Steelers football player. Thanks for coming on the show, John.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
Appreciate it. I want to jump right into it and ask you the pressing question that's been on my mind for the longest time. How does one make the transition from playing football to playing with wood?
Yeah, I thought that question was going to go in a completely different direction. But take a step back here, paint a quick picture for you guys. I am born and raised in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and traditionally a very blue collar town. And I grew up in a construction worker family. So my approach to life has always been, like getting your hands dirty, put in the work, put in the labor kind of thing, in order to achieve your goals. So whether it was football or as a young man, I was helping basically anyone who could get my time, lift and move and build and do things, because I was quite large and very accessible. And so I picked up, being semi-handy, I guess, when I was younger. And when I got cut for the 13th time from the NFL, I didn't know what else to do with myself or my time besides just kind of go back to work and, do something that was considered to be labor. And I had picked up the hobby of woodworking in my last off season in the NFL. And with that, I just started building and making shit and putting it online.
I found your content when you made the Black Rifle conference room table years ago, and I've basically watched every video of yours religiously since then.
Yes.
I mean, I love it. I think it's awesome. I'm not somebody that would probably jump into that trade because those tools are expensive, and she'd be like, that's just another hobby that you're picking up that you're never going to do anything with. But how did you transition though from it being just kind of, did it start as a hobby or did you really invest into it as a means to become a professional?
It started out as a hobby. Essentially, we got back from playing an away game and my roommate at the time had a party. Our coffee table got broken and I wanted to replace it with something cooler than kind of what you could find in stores. And I had a friend who had they were whiskey barrels with a door on top of it. It just looked cool shit. And I was like, I want to do something unique. And so I started looking online and I found plans to build one. And I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. And I bought the plans and I bought a circular saw and pocket hole jig. And I built this table and I was like, this is kind of fun. And then from there started to just, watch a lot of content on it. At the time, Chip and Joanna Gaines were owning the world. When it came to home remodeling. So I was always intrigued by the world of that. And woodworking just kind of was something I could do without having to buy a house and then completely renovate it. So the transition for me was, I was depressed. I was bored. I was lost. I was drinking a lot. And I had a buddy with a house that had no furniture in it. I'm done playing football, it seemed at the time. And he needed some furniture. So we would just get boozed up, come up with these ideas to build stuff. And then we try to make it. And It started there, and I started putting it on like Facebook, and people started asking if I could build and make them things, and I started selling it. And I was like, you know what? Let's see if I can turn this into something I enjoy doing instead of putting the control back into somebody else's hands to dictate my future. And that was one thing that was like always a core motivation for me after I got done playing football, was not letting somebody else hold the reins to my potential in the future. And so it started out as like a hobby and some fun. And then I quickly saw that I could, monetize it and turn it into a little business. And so I started to develop that probably within like 6 to 8 months after I discovered the hobby itself and started making things for like friends and family.
So, I've seen kind of the shift in the content that you've created, and I've been wanting to ask you, are you doing it because that's what the algorithm wants, or is that actually the direction that you want your content to go? Like the
neither.
Unscrewed, neither.
Neither. So like, I'll take a step back. If you want to create content and you want to do it for a living, has nothing to do with algorithms. It has nothing to do with you, unfortunately. Hopefully you can involve things that you enjoy, but the reality is if you want to make content, it's for your audience.
Yeah.
And so you have to be like very granular and calculated with what you're creating based on what your audience wants to see from you and what their expectations are with whatever medium or media you decide to produce. And so for me, a lot of the strategy that is behind my content platforms is based on like me throwing shit at the wall and seeing what's sticking, and then what resonates the most with my audience, and then giving them more of it. And so you could say that that's the algorithm, but the reality is an algorithm is just an engine that is built to learn and keep people on platform and give them what they want more of. And so, by definition, yes, maybe algorithm based, but it's more based around me understanding like who's watching my content and what they like to see, and then I make things for them. Now, the benefit is that I'm a little bit older than my audience for the most part, but we have a lot of similar interests, so I do get a lot of joy, and I have a lot of fun with like what we build and what we make and what we do on Unscrewed and all that, because I am, part of my audience a little bit to an extent. So in a roundabout way, that's how we go about making content. I just got really fortunate to get into something that I enjoy, that I can continue to, bring joy and entertainment into other people's homes by doing what I do.
So
I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes complete and total sense, actually. We're kind of in a position right now where people aren't looking for us; they're looking for our guests, right? So we try and invite people on from all different kinds of spaces and walks of life. Obviously, right now, it's easier for me to reach out to people who already vaguely know me in some capacity. And with the hopes that somebody will see the content and be like, oh, these guys are great. Let me check out their other stuff. But because I consume so much of your content, and I was never really into that before. I never really watched YouTube videos of woodworking. Now I have Blacktail Studios pops up. I've subscribed to him recently. I think you've mentioned him in a video or something.
Yeah, he's a friend.
Yeah, so it's kind of cool, and it's kind of like a guilty pleasure of mine. I consider it like my Saturday morning cartoons. It's my adult version of it. But yeah, I have noticed, some of the content, like you went with the Unscrewed channel and stuff like that, but it does seem like it's less customer projects. It's a lot more like furniture for your own home, like you built the bed and the whole island in your closet and things like that. Do you prefer doing stuff for yourself, or do you like the customer aspect of it?
Oh, I mean, I think every human being on the planet inherently at some point has the selfish desire to just make and do whatever they want for themselves. Yeah. And then if you can get paid to do that, like, that's awesome. Fortunately for me, that kind of leans a little bit into what the build channel is to an extent. We don't do a ton of projects for me. When it comes to customer projects, they're usually pretty boring, to be honest. Like there's from time to time customer projects that are really cool and like something that we can produce a piece of content that our audience wants to see. But like, I'm not as talented a storyteller as Cam from Blacktail is, so I can't just make, the same thing consistently over and over and over again for customers and make great videos and great stories and great content about it like he does. And so what you're trying to do is discover what sort of interest your audience has, as well as like what general intrigue exists for new potential audiences, and then what you want to be doing, and then find a happy medium between all of those factors and produce content around it at a high level to provide high value to your audience. So if I'm doing a project in my home, like the closet, for instance, the only reason we did it is because I know I have an element of my build channel's audience that is into tech, that is into like interesting automations and interesting ways to add technology to like their home. And so I was able to add that, like I built a smart closet aspect to it with a surprise lift mechanism in the middle of the island, because traditional John would have just built out the whole closet from scratch, done none of that, because I don't use that at all. I'm just being honest. It's cool, but like I'm not on a daily buzzing my middle of my island up and down. So you're trying to find that balance for like what provides entertainment and inspiration and brings joy to people's life, as well as like what I can actually use that's going to have long-term value. And the reality of it is like 85% of what I build is just sitting on a shelf. Like it's for nobody. It's just literally for making a video. And Unscrewed is just a complete and utter sunk cost. Yeah. I have tens of thousands of dollars of tools and stuff that are just chilling on shelves because we make content about them, but people get a lot of entertainment, a lot of value out of it. And that's what it's about for me, is like, I'm here to bring joy into people's lives, through making videos. And I like to do it with things that require getting your hands dirty. So if that makes sense, customer builds are typically dictated on like a customer's taste, right? Like I'm sure, there's things in your guys' home that you're not going to want to be as outlandish and ridiculous as some of the shit that I build. They're not going to want 5,000 bullet casings, for instance, in your coffee table, potentially, unless it's in like a man cave, but your wife might not like that, right? So it's like customers aren't always looking for that kind of shit. And from time to time, you can get a cool project there that makes good content, but more or less content based on customer builds is going to be pretty relatively boring. And to be completely honest with you, the makerspace is saturated with a lot of content like that. And to stand out, that's why I lean into things like just actually being myself and being entertaining and trying to do cool shit that that challenges me, that I think is creative and I think gets people fired up and excited.
Yeah. What have there been any projects that you've done in or around your home or anything that your wife either didn't provide input in? Because I know you've done some stuff that's not just for your own home, but for other people as well, like renovating a kitchen, things like that. Have there ever been things that you did it and then after the fact they were like, that's not really what I wanted? Or like your wife specifically, is there ever been anything that your wife was like, that's not really the way I thought it would turn out?
Yeah. Fortunately, no. Like my wife she is like the sweetest thing on the planet. She lets me pretty much do whatever I want, and she is very easy to please in that regard. So like when it comes to furniture or design or anything, like she just kind of goes with it. And I do get her input if I'm making something for us, like our dining table, like the base resin layer pour. I got her input on it. Like, what color would you like to be the focal point of like the room? I wasn't just going to go send it on something stupid just to get clicks. So that's the other problem for me, is like, I don't own much of what I make. It's like what's the phrase that a cobbler's kid never has any shoes, right? Like I have more furniture I bought than built at my home. And it's just because I don't have like the taste and the style of our house doesn't really fit the things that I make, as well as like, it's a business. I'm making money on making things for other people. Or making things for videos that you're not necessarily going to want to put in your home. Right. And that's the reality of it is, when I talk to other YouTubers in our space, is like, they're not willing to do that. They want to make the things that they want and they want to use and they want utility in that. And then they don't get the views and they wonder why. And I'm like, not about you. So my content's like, it truly is like not about me. Like I make what I think my audience wants to see as often as I possibly can.
That makes sense.
It's for you guys.
I enjoy all of it. I like seeing the progression. Yeah. I like seeing the new shop builds as you moved and expanding. Mm-hmm. And it's I'm both entertained, but I'm also trying to learn at the same time. She hates a lot of the stuff that I watch. She hates the yelling and screaming, and then she goes and sits in the room and watches Real Housewives. So what's the difference?
It's just a different yelling and screaming, right?
Sure. It's much more subdued.
Much more, the screaming is much more subdued.
Yes.
Okay, if you say
and I can relate to it.
I know she always has a million family questions and things, and you have 2 young daughters, correct?
3
now. Wow, congratulations! All of those have happened since you've had your channel, right?
Oh yeah, I have 3 under 4.
Yeah,
all little
Do you
girls.
want to go back to that lifestyle? Creating
children? Is
No.
that what you were asking?
No, creating content for the internet and then having your toddlers and infants running around.
I mean, if I could have more children, I would happily have more children.
So
Yeah, my wife's all about that too.
You said she's all about that?
Yeah. She's, we're in the trenches right now. Like like I said, we've got 3 under 4. I've got my oldest turns 4 next month. My middle one turns 2 next month. And then we have a 6-month-old, and she's like still in our bedroom in the bed. And it's not pleasant.
Those are all the best ages. Enjoy it while it lasts.
No, I enjoy it. Just like, I just need to sleep at some point. And so does
No,
my
I
wife.
understand.
But yeah, I mean, besides that, it's great. We're super blessed that they're all like 3 super happy, like bubbly. Like, I think little girls are awesome. Come home and they just love you unconditionally, and they're not yet like, I don't know, stabbing holes in the wall and breaking stuff like I see my buddy's little boys doing. So hopefully they stay sweet. And I'm good with 3. My wife's already talking about 4.
Once you've already passed the 2 threshold, go ahead and just keep having them. You already need that 3rd row vehicle. Just keep having them. Go for 6.
Yeah, I don't know. We got the 3rd row. I mean, she works still, so she's spread pretty thin. It's just like, you can't do much when you have 4. You have to like such an event to leave or to do anything.
Yeah, but you already have 3, so go ahead and just have 1 more at least. I have 4. 4 is no different than 3. I promise.
Yeah, they can't. Maybe once. So I said, give us 2 years. If they can clothe themselves and like wipe their own butts, maybe we'll think about 4. Because that's the thing right now. Is like 2 are in diapers, 2 can't talk, 2 are walking.
Yeah.
You're just like bobbing and weaving constantly.
You'll be fine.
And then you don't sleep.
You'll be fine. It's fine.
Yeah, I know it'll be fine, but I don't know if I want to add a 4th on there. Is what I'm saying. I'm not worried about 3. I'm in that. We're gonna be good.
The only problem with the having 4 is that we're always constrained to. I have a Chevy Colorado, so if we want to go somewhere, we have to take her Suburban. We can't take the Colorado unless we want to throw the kids in the bed of the truck, and I mean, I'm cool with that.
No.
And
it's not that legal anymore.
Yeah. I mean, we can throw a lap belt back there as long as.
No. Anyway.
Do you have any boys? Little boys would love that.
Yeah. Actually, Cash, when we went and took there's like a recycling center where we actually have to physically take it there. They don't pick it up. And after we dumped everything off, he was like, "Can I just ride in the bed?" And I was like, "Mom would kill me, dude."
Absolutely not. So
I love it. Little boys.
You said you were getting started when you were still in the NFL, and it sounded like you were in like a bachelor situation. Did you meet your wife around that time?
No. Yeah. So I got done playing football about 10 years ago. It'll be 12 years this August.
Wow.
I'm getting old. And so I started my the business then, and just like the trenches of where I was at the time in my life. I was sleeping on couches. I was like, my shop was a basement at one point in the middle of like a very not good neighborhood. I was like bumming shop space out of a buddy's garage before that, and then like I started to make some money and invest in tools and pick up some sponsors and like figure out what I was doing. And I met my wife when I was in Braddock, right around when right before that Black Rifle Conference table, a couple months. So we'll be married 6 years in October, and we knew each other for about a year and a half before that. So that's like, right around the beginning of the channel. That was where I met her. And
the coffee table.
Conference table was like 4 or 5 years ago. Yeah.
Wow.
Oh yeah, dude, time's flying. I'll be 3 years in this shop in November next. Like I'm 4 years. I don't know. I can't keep track.
That's nuts.
Because I didn't have my daughter.
I remember when you were moving into that shop and you were talking about leasing or subleasing the other half of it. And I reached out to a buddy of mine who's a doctor and just was like, "Hey, would you be interested or whatever?" And I don't remember if I relayed your information. I just asked him, and I don't remember the outcome of that, but I haven't seen the guy. We grew up together in Indiana, and I haven't seen him in years. And I just randomly reached out to him. I was like, "Hey, I know this YouTuber that's got a space. Do you need a new practice or building for your practice or whatever?
Yeah. But no, yeah, I mean, it's been wild. I think it'll be 4 years. Yeah. In November. So we just passed the 3-year mark in this building. And I was in the old building for 4 almost. And that's where we did the black rifle table. And we're doing a super cut on our build channel. So we were just looking back at all that kind of stuff. But I'm pretty sure that was like 2019.
Wow.
So it was like published around 6 years ago or so.
And how did you meet your big name people like Black Rifle and any other big names that you've done projects for?
Mostly just being present on the internet and understanding that like people are people. This even behind like those kind of brands. So I think they posted something about building a new office and like needing stuff for it. And so we just started like berating their social accounts with like messages on, hey, we'd love to have the opportunity to do this, do something awesome and creative, make content for it, etc. And that's how we got a hold of the Black Rifle guys, and they were fantastic. And we ended up having like a couple. One of my sponsors was down in San Antonio, and they moved, so like ended up being a nice little business opportunity there, and made some friends down in the area, yada yada. So it was like all in all, just like being online and just having the balls to DM someone or find their email and send it and whatnot. Basically the same thing we still do now.
So
Now they're just like,
DMs
oh,
on like Instagram.
Oh yeah, no shame.
Isn't
over
that
here.
what Eric Tansey said?
Yeah.
That's how most people do it. Is Instagram is the main mode of communication.
That's how I got in contact with John years ago, actually, because he was dealing with.
I thought you said you don't go on Instagram. I'm so confused.
No, this was years ago. You were dealing with the guy in Argentina, the student or whatever, that was basically stealing your content and trying to promote his ebook or something along those lines.
Oh yeah, that happens all the time.
Yeah,
now.
I was going to ask how often that happens. That was my next question.
Oh, I don't know. For some reason, people think that like they want to be me online, and it's like I would not put that burden on anybody. But they'll steal my identity. I've had people that I've had like women that have gotten like swindled by someone impersonating me for the money or like dumb shit and stuff. Oh, it's terrible. I'm married to my wife's an attorney, so like we try to mitigate a lot of this stuff now with like best practices and like this is when that stuff was happening when verifications, you actually had to be a person that like was actually verified. You could just buy it on social platforms. And so like, it was very important for me because coming out of the NFL, you Google my name, a bunch of stuff comes up. And there's also like photos that I have no control of or like there's media out there. I have anyway. So yeah, people would steal my identity. We've gotten people stealing it and creating sub accounts and stuff on social and reposting my stuff. We just sent one 2 days ago to my team. It's like a video someone stole and reposted on their account and got like 3 million views on TikTok. And we're like, what the fuck? Like, this sucks. Sorry, I don't know if I didn't ask if I could cuss or not.
No,
go for it.
Yeah.
But has anybody thought that they were like in a relationship with you?
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Is like, oh yeah, it's sad.
That's wild.
And
I wonder if anybody
you just do what
thinks
you
they're in a
can.
relationship with you.
Nobody cares about me.
I don't think you're not putting your face out there as often online. Like I'm literally like babbling on the internet like all day long.
Yeah.
Right. And so like that's where it is like you can go back 2 years and grab content that no one's ever seen, put it out there and act like you're me, and I would have no idea.
Wow.
So like the volume of content gives them an opportunity to like really do some damage. So we're constantly trying to fight it. There's awesome tools out there like delete.me and stuff. Like we use that to try to keep my name and likeness and all kinds of stuff off of places. And then we actually use verification as like a valid, like, being actually me on platforms. But
so I've kind of wondered because I've been in web development and hosting and stuff like that for a long time. And some of those tools, I've kind of wondered if maybe for somebody like yourself, might actually be counterproductive, like actually removing content that you do want out there. Have you run into any issues like that where people say, oh, I can't find your website or social media or something because of that?
Yeah. No, not really. I mean, what you're trying to remove is information that other people can use like to their benefit, right?
Yeah.
And so like we're not really removing content. It'd be more like It'd be more like someone to take my name, image, and likeness and like create a fake account and then like change because I won't put like my phone number on like a Facebook, right? So you can use that to validate, and then they can just like siphon and like act like they're me because I don't have a phone number on mine and yada yada. So we haven't run into a situation where like removing content's been a problem for us. We also make a lot of content,
Right.
so it's like yeah, but it's a crazy world we live in, man. People think they can just snag up someone's likeness and go out there, and yeah.
And it's an arms race too. As soon as some new tool comes out, they find another way to start stealing or whatever, acquiring something else.
I don't know. It sounds like you're one step away from somebody wearing you as a skin suit.
Yeah.
That's
I mean, like
terrifying.
that is the terrifying part of putting yourself out there online. Like it's a double-edged sword, right? You want to be, you want to have a podcast, you want to have a YouTube channel, you want to have all these followers online. Flip side of it is there's going to be people out there that are absolutely obsessed with you, that are like going to show up at your house and, with gifts for your
People
kids.
have shown up at your house.
Oh yeah. Now, fortunately, most of my audience knows that like, don't come near me because I could like, physically harm you if you like overstep. For some reason or another, I don't feel like I'm a very threatening person, but I've had a lot of peers tell me that like I'm very unapproachable, for whatever reason. And so like, I think that doesn't allow for a lot of the like riffraff, but I've got a ton of friends that people just like show up wherever. And I would not want to be a woman online these days, because that would suck. I know a lot of girls in the maker space that just get way more attention than they want, and super unfortunate. So like, yeah, it's the double-edged sword of wanting to grow a business and a face and a personality and be a personal brand and all that online is you're going to have fucking weirdos out there that want to wear your skin.
that was one of Matt Carricker's things that he was saying. So I don't know if I told you or not, but he's completely leaving YouTube. Yeah. But he said that mansion that they built, they have like a big gate at the front, and some dude thought it was going to be a good idea to jump the gate and go up to his house and ring the doorbell. So he answered the door at gunpoint, and he's like, "What are you doing at my house?" And it was like 9 p.m. or 10 p.m. or something like that.
That's terrifying.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So
there was years. I mean, most of us carry in the shop, and like I mitigate it in my videos because you get flagged for it, but it's a real thing. You just get people showing up. Like there's also the safety side. Like I had a dude show up here, and I'm always glad to meet my fans. I just try to make it happen and like on a schedule. Like you show up at 12 noon on a Friday and I'll make time and we can talk and hang. But like we've had people just all the time just show up in the middle of something going on. And we had a scissor lift on the back of a trailer that we were like trying to figure out how to get off, and a fan walked into the shop, just started bullshitting, like, and one of my, I really appreciated the dude for like taking time out of his life to come meet us. But then he like jumped behind the machine and started trying to help, and the machine starts rolling off. I like threw him on the floor basically. And was like, dude, like, yeah, that's like my nightmare. Yeah. And so there's that part of it too. And, I haven't had the situation where someone's knocked on my door and jumped the gate because we don't have a gate. But you run into it, and it's just a part of putting yourself out there. You want to be the face of a business. Oh, no, absolutely not. Like
what
I'm very
would
prepared
make you consider stopping? Like what would push you over the edge? Like, nope, this is the last time.
If someone was dumb enough to go anywhere near my kids, I'd probably consider making some changes. But as far as like me goes, like I know what it would take to protect me. There you go, buddy. Nice. Titties and build. That might be my next shirt.
Did the belly reveal on the show too?
Yes, and your nipples. You had a full nip slip.
I'll blur myself out.
But I think, Nona, to answer your question, you've got to ask yourself at any point in life, where would you draw the line on like on your potential for growth in a certain avenue if it's based around your likeness, right?
Yeah.
And you got to look at like the lives of like, I don't know, someone like Justin Bieber. Like you see the craziest shit happening to that guy,
Right?
Right? all the other shit he did to himself beside. It's like, you can't live a real life.
So I
You
think
can't
the
get anywhere.
I think the advantage that we have coming in so late, even just, I mean, YouTube, podcasting, whatever, is that I've learned lessons from like Matt Carricker, from you, from other people, which they learned the hard way, but because they learned it and they talked about it, like removing their kids from their videos. So
Yep.
we've made sure.
My children will never be on.
Yep. They talk. We'll give them a microphone, but they're always behind camera if that happens. Pictures and stuff. So there is a picture that you can't see on this mantle. We always make it so that if the camera is pointed high enough, it never shows their face. So you never see who they are. We never post their faces publicly. Of course, we share pictures with them privately on social media, but never a public post on X or Instagram or whatever. But I'm sure that there's going to be the next lesson that we're going to be in the wave of people that have to learn.
Yeah, totally. And I mean, it's one of the things is like your popularity grows. People want to feel closer to you and feel more included in like your life as an individual. And that's something that like, I made a decision a long time ago to be myself. And so I get a lot of my fans and audience that I meet in person that are just blown away by that I'm not like a character that's like different online than I am in person. But what also comes with that is like, they want to be your buddy and drink beers in a parking lot and like talk football and bullshit. And like, and it's great. Yeah. It's what I signed up for. But, like we're, talk about your family, you talk about being a parent, you talk about like that's the things you talk about. And so you got to figure it's a very gray area. And a lot of learning comes along with it. But yeah, doing the basics, like, you don't want your kids to be something that's out there for public knowledge, like keep them out of content. They're going to figure out at some point, if you get a big enough audience, they're going to either want to be a part of it or stay away. And that's the next layer of it. I don't have teenagers yet, but I got friends that's kids are like, I want to be on your videos, Dad. And so that's one part of it. And then secondly is just like having the back of your mind awareness in like situations when, it makes sense to not put things out there in a public forum and situations when it does. My wife has a gambit of creepy woodworkers that are trying to follow her all the time on social platforms. And she's just like,
what?
I married you. Oh, yeah.
Because they want to get closer to him through his wife.
I didn't. Okay.
Like if I like repost a photo from our anniversary on my story, she'll get like 1,000 dudes that want to follow her.
That's crazy.
My audience is all guys.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, it makes
I don't
sense.
know what their motives are.
A lot of people want to promote other people. And there might be kind of an inherent like, oh, every time he posts somebody new, I want to follow that person because they're probably interesting, even if it's just your wife, but there might be another content creator or somebody that you're meeting up with or things like that. And
I'll also say this, like 99% of the time, they're super nice, phenomenal human beings. And like, they're just like you. Like my wife doesn't know the difference between like another bearded guy in a mesh trucker hat with a belly. Like, well, there's thousands of us, the hundreds of millions of us out there, and like that's that's my audience. And so like she wouldn't, she'd have no clue just looking at it like who you are or what you do or if we ever spoke or anything like that. So it's just the nature of the beast.
You have to tell.
But I get fans from all over the place to pop in and bring her and the girls gifts. They've never met her. They're just like, hey, these are for your wife. You said that she likes coffee and chocolate. I got a buddy, Jared. He drives in from Canada a couple of times a year, brings her all kinds of weird Canadian shit that's interesting as hell, and she loves it, and maple syrup and whatever, and it's awesome. But they've never met.
It's cool as long as it's not something like where they're trying to do something malicious, of course. But
exactly, and you want to assume positive intent as often as possible.
You'll have to tell your wife thank you for me, by the way, because she's the one that helped make sure that I got the right size shirt on Black Friday when you were doing the live stream. I was asking her.
Was it her or was it Betsy?
It was your wife's name, so I don't know if she was responding from a personal account. And I didn't do like a boosted or super thanks kind of thing. I just said, what size shirt is John wearing right now? And she responded, and I was like, oh, thanks. So
hell yeah.
She's definitely nice. The coolest project though recently that you've done, that doghouse. What motivated you to do that? Because that was awesome.
So it's twofold. We'll peel back the layers a little bit here on my strategies on YouTube, and then why we did something like that. So like one, this is gonna sound weird, but like our channel's not really growing. In the grand scheme of like YouTube, like the build channel is kind of stagnant. I'm known for what I'm known for, and I have a great loyal following, and we get a lot of baseline views, and it's awesome. But like I want the business to grow. I want to reach as many people as possible and bring as much joy and positivity as I can into the world. And to do that, you got to grow your channel. And so idea-wise, we're trying to push the envelope into some areas that could have a larger potential audience than just woodworking or epoxy and whatnot. And you asked about an algorithm earlier. This would be more of an algorithmic play, trying to give YouTube specifically a chance to serve our content to a larger interest-based audiences that aren't just inherently interested in woodwork. And so when my brother moved home, the whole story of the video is like, it is real. Like he's moved back to Pittsburgh and he's working here and he brings his dog to work, and we wanted to like just make her an awesome place to chill. We just took it to like another level by making it like a 2-story fully functional mini house with heat and windows and TV and all that fun stuff. So like the idea of it though was to like kind of try and reach a new potential audience, get out of like the rut of the woodworker, or like the TikTok testing stuff, which has gone a little bit stale on my channel as well.
So in that same vein, I remember you mentioning, it might have been during that same live stream, that you guys were going to be launching a couple new channels potentially this year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Talk about that.
Yeah. Fuck yeah. I mean, we are. So, I believe, were you on the bunker or was that on the main stream?
I was on YouTube. I was watching on my TV.
Nice. So, yeah, we just got a bunch of stuff in the works, right? And so like essentially what has happened to me is like when you grow an audience and you're not growing a business behind it, it's like you should try to build a business behind it, right? And so for me, I love podcasting. I love shooting the shit. I love providing knowledge, right? Like I love the fact that you guys are starting a podcast as a couple, and whatever your like niche you're trying to carve out is, if like there's ways I can help and provide value there, that's fantastic. Me and most of my peers, most of us talk about like growing on YouTube and making money and like the benefits of like trying to have an online business with a individual who's like the face of it or a content channel or whatever. So like one area I'm going to be going further into is going to be that with a podcast, or like me sitting at a desk talking and like teaching, giving I don't know, insights and strategies for like the creator economy more.
What's that? I beg of you, when you do it, please don't scream into your microphone.
She's talking about the exciting.
This is usually how I talk, but I mean, I will. I'll scream if I want to.
She's not talking about right now on our show. She's saying in the content that you make.
I mean, if I'm fired up, I'm fired up. I mean, it's the nature of what I do. I'm not going to not be me, but I will. We'll try to make sure my editor at least brings the volume down. If that's what you're saying a little bit. So we're going to be launching a podcast talking a little bit more about the creator economy. I think there's like a lot of people that are in like the grittier areas of YouTube that aren't like in, I don't know, gaming or streaming or like, finance or something pretty, that are trying to make a living that could, if I could go back and start over again.
Oh, froze. Is that us? I'll pause this real quick.
How about like the new medias, right?
Yeah.
So essentially, like, when I was getting started, I wish there was like a better roadmap for like being, I don't know, a maker or like blue collar or like hands-on and like growing like online with intentionality and like an actual like way to make money doing it and like some help, because it's easy to look at some of the online coaching and the programs and stuff, and I pay a lot of money to join them and then have them like tell you how to make content. But then the reality of it being like, well, if you're in business to like build custom cabinetry or something, your content strategy is going to be inherently way different than someone who provides like legal service or like an agency, right? So talking a lot more about the creator economy, like what works for me, what's winning, like the lessons I've learned, what helps me to like be successful on a daily and produce high quality content. And just like kind of have some fun with it. A little bit of a lower lift on my end, something I can like sit down, record for an hour and a half and make a video instead of like the production that goes into a lot of the stuff that we do. So that'll be one thing. And then we are going to launch a podcast, another channel for the Sawmill that I will be a secondary character in eventually. Something to like leverage my resources and knowledge on making content, and then get that business kind of turning on its own. Kind of put my money where my mouth is, see if I actually and whatnot. And
you said
yeah,
put your money where your mouth is, and you kind of cut out.
Yeah, basically just put my money where my mouth is and see if I know what I'm talking about when it comes to YouTube and whatnot, and then have some fun sawing some logs because it's awesome. And so those are the two bigger pieces of content or platforms that should be expected to come later this year.
Have you ever had any sort of like fan event where people can come in and do how you do like the beginner, intermediate, and expert builds? Have you ever had something like that?
No. I don't think from an insurance or liability standpoint that like we could facilitate a large like build kind of event. But we definitely want to have like I have a private community that we definitely want to do an event for here at like the holidays, kind of like a Thanksgiving style thing, which would be more just like a get together, and not have like the physical building aspect. Like I'll say it's like as much as I love making shit, like it's not fast. So like getting together with a bunch of people to make stuff is not as fun as it sounds. Like, especially if you want to get the thing done.
Right.
And then like, everyone has to stay sober and safe. And then there's a ton of liability, and like, I don't have a ton of tools. That model just doesn't intrigue me, but I'd love to throw, like a big party with my fans and like good people and like elite, like top level fans who I know personally from interacting with them and them being, in the community for a long time, for them to get to meet one another in person and whatnot and do some stuff there. So we've got a few things in the works in that regard. Sort of like Matt's Off-Road Games, if you're a fan of Matt's Off-Road Recovery, like just a big thing people can get together, hang out, have a good time, not have to worry about like making a picnic bench or something.
So which do you like more, content creation or actually getting your hands dirty?
I like running a business and making money more than both. I think as being a dad, I get a lot of validation and gratification out of making things. But I'm not the guy that's like, I need to go cut my own grass because I need to feel like getting my hands dirty. I value my time more these days now that I have children, that I like would prefer to pay somebody else to make the thing or do the task that's in labor-esque, and then leverage my knowledge more so I can spend more time with my family. Because like to build big crazy shit, it takes a lot of time physically. To make the good content on it takes a lot of time, right? And so like if you compound that, I put 80 hours a week into the job already. I don't have more time to make stuff. And so as you get to a certain point with your business, it's like you have to leverage what you're best at. And I think I'm better at making content than I am at making things. And also I've been doing it for over a decade. So it's like the season of my life is changing. And I think that I'm going to, that's why Unscrewed is so fun, is like go in a direction where making the videos is more fun and more profitable. And then also, I like the back end stuff. Like we developed our own eyewear. Like I like that. We're working on an apparel brand. We're working on some like EDC stuff. So like getting into like substantial businesses behind the content engine really get me fired up. And then we'll just continue to build shit. I get the blessing of teaching others how to make the cool stuff and then still being able to make content around it as well. Just having them on my team. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. And you answered one of the questions I wanted to ask, which was if you preferred or enjoyed making furniture, if you preferred putting drills inside of which I love the name of it, the triangle, which is not a triangle. It's a square or a rectangle.
That was all Sam.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
They built this.
We built an arena to fight tools. Obviously, should be something you're very interested
fight
in.
Tools.
They take a drill bit, or not a drill bit, but like a bit, and they put 2 drills or 2 impacts, and then they put zip ties to pull the triggers, and then just throw it out there and let them fight until one of them dies and breaks.
Is it brand versus brand, or like is there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so they have like
My wife actually thinks it's our best content ever.
really.
So you might like it. It's just the dumbest dude thing of all time.
It is awesome, and it's so funny. The frustrations and seeing, because you have the benefit of the doubt as the person sitting at home watching the fully edited video, where I've already seen whether or not what you're saying is correct. When you're like, oh, did I kick it or did I whiff or whatever, and so it's kind of cool because it's like watching a football game, right? Like you have the instant replay when you're at home, where you don't have that when you're there, unless you're looking at the jumbotron. But I sit here and I watch that stuff and I'm like, how's he going to do saws? How's he going to do reciprocating saws? How's he going to like?
We got a lot to figure out.
What brand is the reigning champion?
Both challenges, spoiler alert, Milwaukee has won. And we've had it's crazy, but we've had a sleeper brand make it to the finals in both that we didn't see coming on either end.
Which was what?
Oh, I can't spoil everything. You got to go watch it.
Rude.
You can watch it with me. We met. I don't remember what his title was, and now I'm blanking on his name too. We met one of the brand reps for Milwaukee in Salt Lake City in 2022. They brought in it would have filled the whole backdrop behind us, just brand new, unboxed tools as auction giveaway for the nonprofit for charity gala we were at. And we sat
it's awesome.
Yeah, we sat at his table and I was like, that is so many tools. I mean, just everything you could possibly think of. And the dude he's a great guy. I'm blanking on his name and I feel terrible about it. He was so great that
you don't
remember
Shane?
Him. It wasn't Shane, was it?
I genuinely don't. I can text and ask the guys from Warrior Rising, but I don't remember. Now I feel absolutely terrible not being able to give them a shout out.
They're a huge company,
yeah.
So
but,
and they roll through people fast. They got to fight the corporate ladder there.
Yeah,
they're great. We used to work together. I used to go to events and stuff. I enjoy Milwaukee. Most people think I'm paid by Milwaukee in the content, which is not the case. I get paid by zero tool brands. I buy everything out of pocket. For those videos and stuff. But going back to the question, it's not so much that I'd rather play with tools than build things. Like I enjoy building things. It just takes too much time. And I like, I like running a business that's profitable, that makes money more than I like making chairs or tables.
Right.
And the product we create is content. So whatever allows me to, at a high level, make more content, I prefer to do.
Gotcha.
And that's what Unscrewed is. Like that shoot, as much as it was only like 6 hours to shoot that drill fight for the last one, which is very short for us compared to like 3 weeks to build the doghouse.
Right.
So, you look at them performance wise next to one another, the drill fight costs less, has more views, took us less time, right? Was a way less emotional effort and has more net benefit than the doghouse. And so that's why you see less builds, you see more Unscrewed videos, because we can make more of them. And that channel is growing. One of the problems of being online and making content on YouTube for a long time is that as you grow and your audience doesn't, or if your audience does grow and it's only a segment of it, YouTube struggles to understand the interests or the changing interests of those audiences. And so an easier example to paint is like if you're 8 years old and you start making YouTube content, and you're on it for 10 years, you're going to be making different content when you're 18, right? And so you're going to have a different audience. Well, how is YouTube going to service that 8-year-old content, right? And find the right people for it that are also interested in what you're making at 18. And so that's kind of where we're at with the build channel, is like the stuff I was doing back in 2020 or 2019. It was cool and fun or whatever, but no one's like, people don't watch it compared to what I make now. And so YouTube algorithmically doesn't really know who to serve my shit to all the time. And that has an inherent downside once you've been on the platform for a long time and you try a lot of new shit.
I have noticed.
Unscrewed, 1 year old.
Yeah.
Knows exactly who my audience is.
I have noticed that, the end screen, or once the video completes and you get the recommendations for what to watch next. I have started seeing a lot of your old content coming back up as recommendation and stuff. It's stuff that I've already watched before, but it's being recommended to me to watch again.
Yeah.
And sometimes I do. Sometimes
YouTube,
what was that?
YouTube's trying to refigure out who my audience is based on the new content and more. If all platforms work like this, every one of us is a unique individual with inherently unique tastes and unique desires, and we use the platform in unique ways, right? Every platform is trying to figure out what gets us the most motivated to stay on that platform.
Right.
And so in order to do so, the clearer of a picture that you can paint as a creator to service that individual, the easier time it's going to have to give them your content more often. So like we are all dynamic individuals, right? Like I like football. I like building. I like tools. I like bourbon. I like barbecue. There's just 5 things, right? If I make content on all 5 of those things, YouTube is going to then try to go find someone that has all exact 5 interests in those things every single time.
Right.
And it just becomes more and more complex, which then inherently becomes more and more difficult. So the simplicity is if you do the same thing over and 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 give YouTube just a crystal clear opportunity to go find people interested in that one specific thing that you're elite at, if that makes sense.
Yep.
So on my build channel, think about it. Slim chance you're going to find a wide swath of people that are into making a tray for making a tray of epoxy and wood that looks like bacon, and then watching me remodel a kitchen, and then watching me dump 5,000 bullet resin cases or bullets in the resin, right? And then watch me do a tip for my first 5 tools, and then watch me go buy a pallet of return tools from Home Depot.
Right.
They're just all over the damn place, right? You
Yep.
can easily see the confusion. But that's how a lot of us YouTubers work, is we just throw shit at the wall and see what sticks. And then when you find one, you chase it and you abandon, and then you go chase and abandon. It gets exhausting. And so my build channel is stagnant because of that. And Unscrewed channels, it's growing way faster because it's pretty clear on who that audience is.
So I mistakenly didn't ask this question to somebody else that we filmed with earlier. But same kind of thing, the 8 to 18 thing. So he's a YouTube creator and then creates like children's shows. And the question that I wanted to ask him was, do you grow with your audience, or do you continue making for that same target audience indefinitely? Like, do you just keep, like, are you doing the Blues Clues thing forever? Or do you take the opportunity to move into that teenager demographic and then the young adult demographic and like follow them through life? And I wonder which one of those is the better route to go for something like that.
No, it'd be inherently easier to just stay with the demographic that you're good at early.
Yeah.
Because you think about the complexities of puberty.
Yep.
Right? The interests of those young individuals are going to change so dramatically over the course of the next 5 years or whatever, if they're 8, right? And so you're like, why would you even want to try to chase that?
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, just stay where you are in that case specifically. But you also run into creators, right? Like, I don't know if you're familiar with Afra Adley. It's Sean Doris's daughter. She has a massive following, right? And like, she's getting older, and she has a lot of content based for like real young kids that are like 5, 6, 7 years old. And she's like, I think 11, 12 now.
Mm-hmm.
And like, obviously she's a different person. Her content's different. Her ability to engage the camera and whatever, all of it's different.
Right.
How do you keep like that genuine core audience happy? They decided to launch an animated series where she'll just be 9-year-old Adley forever.
Makes sense.
Right?
Sense.
And so like, if you think about yourself as a media presence as a whole, there's a bunch of ways to go about that, right? You can stay where you're at in like whatever medium you're in. You can create subcategories. You can go with something like animation, et cetera. But once you get to like adults, it's difficult more in regards to like the business behind it, right? You make content for 20-year-old dudes, they have no purchasing power.
Right.
But they're gonna be online a lot more because they're bored as shit and they're broke.
Right.
So how do you balance that, right? What do you do for them? How do you build a business for them? You know, you got double income, no kid families. They have just, and it feels like infinite money, you know, and you're like, well, what kind of products do you make for them? They're not like us spending every dollar they have on like putting kids through childcare and like clothes that they grow out of in 3 days or ruin or whatever, you know, like So the dynamics of the business and the content together, they all get super complex. So like more or less, I think growing with your audience is way more difficult than kind of staying somewhere. Like my audience is not me anymore. And I'm fine with that. They're 10 years younger than me. And it's like, that's cool. I don't need to make content for 36-year-old dads. You know, I can make content for 25-year-old guys that are just finding their first couple tools, that are interested in like having a good time and getting their hands dirty and building dumb shit.
Well, I'm 37, so I'm still there with you.
Yeah, no, and you're the best, right? Because I make the content for the 24-year-old, and we enjoy it at 36 and 37 because we were that guy.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And it still fills us up. But like at this point in our lives, YouTube for a lot of guys our age is more of a resource, or it's something that you put on, you watch who you like, and then you're on to the next.
Yep.
You're not like searching for community as often now. We're a little bit more settled in life, and you got other things going on. So like all of this plays into my content strategy, at least, and how you should be thinking about your audience, what age they're at, where they are in their time of life, right?
Right.
You know, and a lot of the factors that go into the dynamics of like who they are and meet them where they are.
Yep.
Every time I give advice on making content, meet your audience where they're at. Stop trying to force them into other places.
Yeah. The other question that I really wanted to ask is, for somebody else coming into like woodworking or the niches that you've kind of cornered, do you think it's still something viable? Is it still something that somebody new can come in and do something new and creative, or do you think it's kind of saturated?
So the makerspace specifically,
Yeah.
The makerspace right now is massively saturated with a lack of like adaptation, I would say.
Okay.
And that comes more from makers, I think, and this is where I differ, and I get a lot of fleck for, and probably, you know, depending on who listens to this, will just like fucking hate me for it, but I could care less. The artistry of a maker typically overrides their logical decision making as a business owner or as like a business in general, way more often than it should. So there's a ton of insanely talented, hilarious, and creative people that are in the makerspace that are making content that are still putting themselves in a box based on their skills of what they're making, instead of thinking about YouTube as a platform and how people consume it and making content that like for that first with their skills second. So let's take, for instance, like insanely creative, like scroll saw artists, right? They'll make the things they want to make for themselves and put them out there. And instead of leaning into like their personality and what we call like pepper, or what we call tangential traits, right? Like, so like you know that I'm a dad, you know that I like bourbon, you know that I have kids, right? Like those are things that aren't the front of my content, but once you get to know me, you find relatable and come back for more. Like that's how you build a community. Right. But instead of these creators in the makerspace leaning into those things, they'll avoid them in order to try to be perfect in the craft of what they're making. And so this scroll saw artist will just make the most beautiful sign of whatever this sign is, right? And then completely negate the fact that they're a human being, where people are coming online to connect with other human beings around similar interests, and then doing what YouTube wants to see from them. Right. And so that's where I think the makerspace is right now with a lot of people. Instead of making entertaining content about what they make, they're making what they make and then trying to make it entertaining.
Makes perfect sense.
And so it's like primed to pop off. Like there's a lot of creators that are going to figure it out, and they're going to like myself and a few others, they're going to see that like personality drives the ship, right? You can build the same exact shit as everybody else, put your own spin on it, and millions of people are going to feel and relate just like you are. You're going to be able to build an awesome audience doing so.
Yeah.
You don't have to like build the most, I don't know, perfect cabinet in order to grow an audience.
Do you see,
it's more like,
do you see any value in other long form platforms like Rumble and things? Because we post our show YouTube, Rumble, Spotify, which distributes to Apple and Amazon and everywhere else. X, we post long form videos there, and I believe oh my gosh, Substack. Other than your app that you have, do you post anywhere else?
Yeah, we're on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn.
But for the
I'm not on Rumble.
the whole long form videos, like the full 30-minute
So
videos?
no, this is just content in general.
Okay.
So like, it's a whole other conversation. But I'm not a podcaster, right?
Right.
It's like Spotify right now. Like my agent's like, let's start thinking about Spotify. Like, doesn't make sense. No one's going on to Spotify to watch videos right now.
Right.
They're going on. They might, if there's a video podcast and they're listening to it, which is what they're trained to do on Spotify, they might put the podcast video up on like a TV or in a background or something with it.
Right.
All that Spotify is trying to do with the video content is pull the video audience over from YouTube for their existing media. I don't think it's quite ready for new media. But long form content, Facebook with longer videos there. And then right now we have a licensing deal with a fast channel for this old house where you can like watch my stuff on Roku. And then in my app, we've got some longer form content, and then mostly everything else is short form plays. I don't care to be honest with you, dude. I don't need to be any cooler. If I'm not making money on a platform, I'm not going there.
So
like
you have your
I don't.
own app. When did you create that?
Yeah, it'll be about a year come May, and so we're still learning what the hell that is. But I just wanted to create a better place for like content that doesn't make sense on YouTube anymore for me. So content where we're talking about stuff like this, content where I'm giving you a tutorial on a tool or a build process or just like some inspiration to my life behind the scenes, stuff that's more John Malecki, right? But in the community of like if we were sitting around right now just bullshitting, that kind of content's out there for individuals who are into that, who want to be part of a little bit more and a little bit deeper. And it's awesome to see, thousands of people making friends with one another, building projects together, hanging out, doing cool shit.
So there's we're a community space for people to talk to each other. Is that what you're getting at?
Yeah. We have a private Discord community currently, and we're trying to get the app itself to. We're working on like the dev for that kind of communication server to be on the app, so it's all in one place. And then the app is more content for me, and we do live streams twice a month where a couple, some people get on there and they ask me questions. We shoot the shit. We tell stories. We talk about whatever's going on. We do a happy hour for one, and then we do a Q&A for the other.
What's the app called so people can download it?
The Builder Bunker.
Mentioned it earlier.
Oh, I'm sorry. Apparently I didn't hear that or didn't understand that it was an app.
It's quite all right. More often I talk about it is probably better it'll do. But I would say we're still in beta phase on our end of it. Just trying to figure out like what I just want to provide more value, right? And so like the questions I get don't make a lot of sense to make content around for my like bigger platforms, like YouTube, for instance. And so I still want to answer those questions and provide that value. It's just like a place to do that.
Okay.
Right. I don't want to keep you too long. Do you have a little bit more time or?
I got a couple more minutes. Yeah.
Okay.
I gotta go glue some stuff.
Sounds like fun.
And then I have another podcast at 3.
Nice. Are there any projects that you've done that either because it didn't come out as you wanted it or frustration or any of those? Is there ever been anything that just never came out?
No, we post everything I build because I'm not afraid to fail like on camera. And I think that's one of the things that's always separated me as a maker on YouTube is that like, everyone says, I love that you show the mistakes. And I was like, yeah, dude, I'm no different than you. Yeah. Like I make way too many mistakes. And because of that, I've posted probably every project I've ever intentionally tried to make videos on.
Okay. Yeah. I've been curious about that for a long time. And then to your point about being a perfectionist and everything like that, I'm over here, haven't brushed my beard all day and I'm just wearing, a hoodie and threw on a shirt and I just got gym shorts on. Meanwhile, my wife, wants to make sure that she looks camera appropriate all the time. And she's over here telling me I need to shave my nose hairs.
Yeah.
No, I said individually pluck, not shave.
Yes. Completely different.
We actually,
but I think in the reality of it is, it's like, whichever one you choose, if that's your brand, hell yeah.
Yep.
You don't have to impress anybody else. Like Nona, if it brings you a ton of joy to like the way you present yourself on camera to do that, then do that like as often as you possibly can, right? Like that's how I look at it. Is you don't need to impress anybody online. That's why I'm just a dude like in a hoodie and a hat. Like I don't give a shit, and I've found that the more I like look at that and go, well, that brings me joy and happiness to be able to approach my content production this way. I should probably start with that, or else I'm going to get burned out like quick if I don't get any joy out of this. And then on top of it, it creates an expectation that like you don't need to be, you know, something that I don't know is way more difficult to be in order to like be a person like me, right? And like that's my content approach. I'm probably wearing a hoodie or in a t-shirt most of my life. You know, that's what I am.
Have you felt burned out at any point in time, or has it just because it's progressively just continued to grow and you branched
Well,
out?
Q4 was brutal.
Yeah,
last
past year.
Yeah, I mean, like we were planning in July, and we were like, we're going to move Unscrewed to weekly publishing. We're going to fill every slot that we possibly can with sponsorships. We're going to run 3 sweepstakes. We're going to do 2 live streams, and like we just fucking cranked it out, and it was a lot. And that the end of the, I'm the kind of guy. I was talking to my business coach recently. I was like, I'd rather try to run through a brick wall 1,000 times and evaluate why it's not working instead of stand there and try to strategically figure out the best way to run through a wall. And so that's basically like what we did, is just push as far and hard as we possibly could, and then reflect back on it, watch the game film, what was hard, what was easy, what do we want to do more of, what didn't feel good, what felt good, what made us money, what didn't make us money, et cetera, and then strategize based off of that. And so Q4 is the closest I've been to like feeling burnout, but I'm not really a person who believes in burnout in general, because, you know, it's just the way I am. I really love what I do and I love my life. So I think for me to sit here and complain and bitch about it, it would be an inherently bad thing, and it'd be very selfish of me. I've got an obligation to my audience. I've got an obligation to my family, to the families that I employ. And I think for me to sit here and whine and cry about my feelings and do nothing about it would be a disservice to a lot of people. So I just don't really believe in burnout.
That's a good way to think about it.
But also your
Oh
thoughts
yeah,
and
I mean,
feelings
I
do
chose this.
matter.
What's that?
Your thoughts and feelings do matter, though. I understand not believing in
Oh,
burnout
totally.
and not allowing yourself to burn out, but also making sure that your mental health is
Well, it's
met.
100%.
It's to his point.
But
that,
what comes with that as well is you need to look at yourself in the mirror and go, I'm in a bad spot. I need to fix this, not just sit there and make complain and woos me and I'm burned out. I'm going to make no changes and expect different results. Like that's why I don't believe burnout's an actual thing, because if you recognize you're in a tough spot and it's hard, you should be able to reflect, adapt, change, and move forward. And so it should change like almost immediately, right?
Right.
If you just sit there and do the same shit and it sucks and it's hard and you don't like it, you're the problem. Not like the burnout doesn't actually exist. Your systems to put you there are why you're there. You're a byproduct of that.
Right.
Right. And so like it does matter. You're 100% right. Your feelings and your approach on a daily and down to the second basis matter, but there's a lot of choice in that. And that's where I have no sympathy for. I chose this life, which means I also chose the repercussions of it. And I also chose to employ people, right? I also chose to make it a living.
Right.
I can't sit here and complain about that. You know, there's people that depend on me. There's millions of people that 7:12 in the morning on a Sunday are looking for me to, you know, put a smile on their face. I care about that a lot. And for me to sit here and go, oh, yeah, I'm burned out. Like, fuck that.
Have you been invited to be a motivational speaker yet?
Yes and no. It depends. The crowds that invite me don't like the way I deliver messaging sometimes. But I've done some of it and I love it. Like, and that's one of the reasons I feel like a podcast makes sense now, is because like Nona, you had a great point. Like your feelings do matter. Like my feelings do matter. Right. But I also acknowledge the fact that if I do nothing about them, then I'm the asshole.
Right.
Like I can't sit here and be like, this is a really hard week.
But I feel like you're
And then just-
confusing burnout with an inability to change. So you can be burned out, but understanding that you need to make a change is not the same as burnout.
I think what he's saying is that
No, what I'm saying is if you don't acknowledge how you got to the feeling of burnout, then you're never going to be able to overcome your feeling of burnout. So I more or less just acknowledge it before it happens and then make the changes. Right?
Okay.
Because think about it this way. Early on when we started, we were recording and then I was editing and trying to turn it around the very next day. Now we try and record a couple days in advance, get a couple episodes backlogged that I can edit over time. And that makes things easier for both of us. And it also opens up the opportunity for us to be able to do a one-off where something big hits the news or something like that. And then we're not as stressed about, oh, I have to get that out by tomorrow, or I have to wait until the news happens at 5 p.m. so I know that I have my facts straight and stuff. We've already kind of hit milestones where we figured out what does and doesn't work, and we've made the changes.
Okay.
That's kind of what he's saying, is that he finds.
I'm not. I don't need to convince you to change how you think. I mean, I believe what I believe and how I go about it, and I think that's like the great part about human beings in general. Like I hold no judgment over the fact that you disagree. Like I think it's awesome, to be honest. And I think it's constructive because there should be things that I'm poking holes in my thought process all the time, right? And the point of burnout is like you're pushing yourself to a level that you're incapable of handling, and therefore it emotionally like weighs you down, and it's contextually across the board, right? So like I have the utmost admiration for my wife because she does considerably more than I do, right? She does 95% of like the parenting obligations, right? She's a full-time attorney, owning her own firm as well as working for another one, right? She handles all kinds of bullshit and stuff on a day-to-day basis and has things like that I never ever want to deal with, right? But when she gets close to burnout and expresses anything to me, I'm immediately trying to solve problems in places that are needing to be solved, right? So like, for instance, if the burden of cooking dinner on a nightly basis is leading to you feeling burned out, there's ways around, fixing that situation, right? What does your planning look like for if you want to cook, right? Are you doing anything to prepare for that potential slap in the face coming on a Thursday night when shit's hitting the fan and you need to make dinner for the family? Are you prepping on Monday for it? Or can you order a meal service? Can you go to takeout? Like, what's your calendar look like? What's your own daily allotment look like? That's what I'm trying to say is like, if I'm not internalizing how I got to the problem and then trying to fix it, then I'm not doing any service to the people around me that depend on me. And so when people say they're burned out and I ask them a question, I was like, well, what are you doing with your time? And then they're like, not able to articulate it. Well, that's probably where you need to make a change. You're probably not burned out, probably just confused, or like, you're probably like, mismanaging your time. And like that, but that's just my approach. Right. And it works for me.
I
don't feel burned out because I'm motivated by others. Like I'm not motivated by me. I don't give a shit how I feel. Granted, I should more often, but like I care more about making content for my audience and making my customers happy than I do about my own well-being.
I'm more motivated now after listening to him talk.
That's not for everybody. I promise you. I'm getting no smiles over here. That mentality is not for everyone. I'm fine with that.
I'm genuinely worried for you at this point.
Why? I'm in a great place.
I just fear that will lead down a path of overwhelming sense of responsibility to everybody around you.
But with, I guess with great power comes great responsibility, right?
This is true. That is a huge burden to bear.
Yeah, I signed up for it. Like I wanted millions of followers. I wanted a large audience. I want a big business. I have to be able to handle that burden, right? I can't ask for those things and then not take what comes along with it and accept that, like, to your point, that there's a massive burden that comes with those, right? That would be ignorant.
True.
Which I try not to be.
I'm motivated. I'm very motivated now.
What are you going to go do with all that motivation, Andrew?
That's a good question. I'll figure that out.
Okay. On that note, I have one last question. Since you come from a football background, who do you predict is going to win the Super Bowl this Sunday?
I don't predict anything, but I would like to see the Eagles win. I really like the way they play offense. I like the mentality, like the lunch pail mentality they bring every day. Saquon's playing incredible football right now. I'd love to see him rewarded for that. I also love the way their offensive line plays. I think they play like a very gritty and traditional style of football. That being said, Andy Reid's a wizard. Patrick Mahomes is the best player in the NFL right now. They are humming. They're winning football games with like barely scoring any points. So it should be very interesting come Sunday. But I'd like to see.
Are you going to watch, Andrew?
Well, we're going to a Super Bowl party, so I mean.
Yeah, but that
probably
doesn't mean you're actually going to be watching the TV.
I'm not a huge NFL fan. I haven't been since around when you retired. I was a Bears fan, so being disappointed kind of year in and year out is kind of, it gets old. I'm a Michigan fan for college football, so I get my excitement from college football.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it this way, you're a Bears fan, so you're just a life of disappointment. Now imagine being a Steeler fan, being at the pinnacle of the sport for most of my youth, right? Super Bowl 2005, Super Bowl 2008, another appearance 2010, and then for 14 years, trash. Absolute, complete, and utter letdown, right? That's my life. But I'm still showing up on a weekly basis. And I still love them, and I'm still a fan. But I think everyone can approach it as they like. I would not want to be a Bears fan, though. I mean, that's tough. There's some good things going on for Chicago, but there's also some shitty things.
It also, like, a lot of the rules and the kind of the politics and stuff around it, and it's just, I don't know. There's just something about the NFL that's just, it's just not quite as entertaining as college football. I feel like college football is just,
I disagree.
Really?
The NIL aspect in college football used to be what you're describing.
Yeah.
Like I loved the purity of college football up until about 3-4 years ago. Because I'm with you. It was way more entertaining. Now I look at it and I'm like, you're a Michigan fan? Like, dude, like fuck Michigan. You literally been buying players for 20 years, and all of a sudden it's legal, and now you get to squash second tier Division I schools like mine, like Pitt, and like I hate that about the sport. But what it is, it's great to be a Michigan. It's great when you're a fan of one of those schools that can afford it.
Yeah,
when you're not, I think it makes it worse.
I predict that eventually they're going to have some sort of salary cap kind of thing. Like they have to. There's no way.
Yeah, they have to. Yeah. It's the Wild West. Yeah. But I mean, I prefer Michigan. Like I really wished Ohio State didn't win a national championship this year, but I had slim pickings on those Final Four as a Pitt fan. But the landscape of college football, it's changed dramatically. I like the NFL. I just like football.
Maybe I'll have
in
to
general.
give it a
So like
chance
I
again.
just like watching both. So.
See, she's over here. She's over here nervous that I'm going to give it a chance again, because that'll mean not only on Saturday will I be watching football all day, but then on Sunday I'll be watching football all day.
Just you get one, not both.
Yeah. I college football Saturdays are awesome.
Yeah.
Like I will say that. Like the fall, there's nothing better than like game day on a Saturday. Wherever Michigan's beautiful. So, if you get to make it to any games, like out in a parking lot, drinking some beers with your buddies as it's getting nice and cool and crisp outside, right, with the band playing. It's just started to be like flannel weather.
Yep.
You can like smell it in the air. She
bought us tickets
hang
to
out
the Michigan State game back in October, and we flew up there. It's the first time she'd ever been up there, and walked out to the.
You enjoy it?
Yeah, I did. It was a beautiful little college town.
Little, it's bigger than where we live.
It was little.
Yeah. We walked out. We parked the rental car on somebody's front lawn. We walked out. The very first tailgate we walked up to, this dude drunk off his ass walks up and starts caressing my beard on the side of the road.
And he was like probably 75 years old.
You're like, I'm in the right place.
Yep.
Everything in my life led me to this moment.
Yep.
And it's beautiful.
So yeah. But before we sign off here real quick, I just remembered I got a couple friends that had some questions that they wanted me to ask you. Let me see here real quick. I kind of asked you this in a different way, but and I'll read you his handle on YouTube, or I mean X. It's Boners McCoy. Says,
"What's up, Boners?
How does he like handling his wood and handling wood for a living? And has he thought of handling his wood on OnlyFans?
One, handling wood for a living has its perks, a lot of splinters, and it's quite heavy, but with that comes, build a tougher skin and you can, stay a little bit physically active. As far as OnlyFans wood goes, I haven't really entertained that or needed to. I'm pretty happy with where we've gotten so far with keeping my pants on. I also don't think there'd be many people that would be into that. So not really my forte, but solid question there, Boner Jams or whatever your name is. I appreciate it.
Triple Z asks, let him know that as a diehard Steelers fan, he will always have my utmost respect, and I will forgive him for his sins of being with the Browns. And then ask him, what would be the best wood to make a cutting board out of that won't crack in 6 months of use?
Brown wood.
Brown wood?
Any hardwood that's non-porous. So don't use oak. You can use maple, hard maple, sugar maple, soft maple. Walnut works great as well. And that if you properly build it, it shouldn't crack. Also, don't soak it in your sink. Don't put it in your dishwasher. Use a water-based glue, a waterproof glue, and you should be good. Also, my choice of who I played for in the NFL was not my decision. So I played for the Browns because it was all I had.
Hey, but at least you got to play for the team that you were a fan of. I mean, that's kind of got to be.
And I was grateful for it, dude. It was awesome. Playing for Cleveland was sweet. My family got to come and stuff. It was only a couple hour drive.
I've always wondered how many times a guy got drafted or went to a team that he despised as a kid and was like, I'm going to play really terrible just so I get traded.
Super doubtful ever. I mean, you're not that naive when you're there, and you also don't care as much. You have no loyalty to who you cared for as a kid. They're you gotta remember, you're just a fan of the thing. It's not and very rarely do you have like a religious connection to your sports team and be able to go play in the NFL.
Right.
Because you disconnect in order to play the sport.
Right. Shellnut says, ask him why I can't handle garlic butter from Papa John's anymore.
You're getting old, my friend. Go take a food sensitivity test. There's probably a lot more going on than just a little bit of garlic butter.
Is there a story behind that?
I had to think about it for a long time last night. I was like, is this something that came up in a video? And I thought maybe it was going to get a reaction out of you, something that I didn't know. But
no. He's probably just a greasy Italian like myself, and enjoys himself some garlic there, and just his body doesn't agree with it anymore. We're all dealing with it, my friend. I can't drink milk at all.
2 more. Rob asks, ask him if he thinks the Jacksonville Jaguars will ever make the Super Bowl.
No. Next question.
All right.
You see that stupid hire? This dude they hired him was the wettest blanket on the planet.
Really?
Oh yeah. It's going to be an interesting few years for them.
Like I said, I haven't really paid much attention. Maybe I'll get back into it. Maybe I'll give it another chance.
Please don't.
Then the last one from Nola Nobody. He said, ask him if he owns an AR and if he would like a handmade sling for it. He's an artist out of New Orleans that makes slings and pistol grips and things like that.
Yeah, I have 3. So that would be cool as hell. Have him reach out to my team or something and we can coordinate that. That'd be sweet.
Okay, cool. I'll do that. Well, before we sign off here, is there anything else that you want to promote or talk about or anything that you've got coming up that the audience should know?
No, I mean, this is awesome. I'm just super grateful to be asked to do things like this, and you guys making time and get to kind of BS, get to know each other a little better, get to throw some unfavorable opinions out there to some people. But no, just, if you're interested in more of me, just check me out and look my name up. And it's been awesome to be able to be on the show.
Yeah,
thank you.
Thank you very much for coming on. Well, that's it for us, guys. Everyone, thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next episode.
Thank you.